Merge law, the hybrid justice system shaping power, law, and the future. Merge law is far more than a fusion of common law and civil law. It is a political and judicial battlefield where competing sources of authority collide. This hybrid system promises balance, yet beneath its surface unfolds an ongoing struggle. Legislatures attempt to control the law through rigid norms, courts reclaim power through interpretation, and society and the media shape the legitimacy of both through perception. Alongside them operate elites and international arbiters who quietly adjust the rules and redirect legal outcomes. In this video, we explore the history, logic, and machinery of merge law, the fierce fight for priority between branches of power, and the shadow forces that silently shape the fate of hybrid justice. Everything usually hidden behind formal structures becomes undeniably visible here. The birth of a hybrid model. Two empires of law. For centuries, two powerful but incompatible empires shaped the legal world. Flexible, precedent-driven common law and disciplined, code-centered civil law. They molded nations, courts, and political cultures. Yet growing diversity and global pressure exposed their limits. Neither judicial creativity nor strict legislation could meet modern needs. From this tension arose a hybrid idea, a pragmatic model for a world no longer fitting old frameworks, the early form of merge law. The push toward evolution. As nations faced economic shocks, political turmoil, and social strain, old legal tools failed. Laws were too slow, courts too restricted. Reformers and judges began blending elements of both systems into a usable model. Merge law emerged from pressure, driven by societies seeking stability, fairness, and workable solutions. The political underlayer. Hybrid legal models often grew from strategy, not idealism. Elites backed merge law to retain influence, blending civil law's predictability with common law's flexibility. This fusion lets power shift without rewriting the system. Merge law offers stability, yet quietly enables manipulation behind the scenes. The first laboratories of the hybrid. The first stable forms of merge law appeared not in mighty empires but in regions with layered identities: South Africa, Quebec, Scotland. There, courts blended colonial legacies, local customs, and European codes. These legal arenas showed that a hybrid system could work and eventually grow into something far more influential than expected. Historical turning points and critical points. Collapse of empires. As 20th century empires fell, fractured societies faced legal vacuums. New states sought identity and workable courts, yet pure common or civil law felt too rigid. Merge law arose as a flexible fusion, giving nations stability and adaptability to rebuild after war or collapse. Economic upheavals and legal vacuum. In the economic shifts of the late 20th century, many states moved from central control to markets, revealing a legal vacuum. Old codes lagged, courts lacked tools, and new industries outpaced regulation. Merge law offered a hybrid path, balancing control with investor trust. Globalization and the pressure to converge. As global trade grew, states needed shared rules of transparency, predictability, and enforcement. Civil law systems struggled with rigid codes, while common law faced claims of inconsistency. Merge law emerged as a bridge, aligning nations with global standards while preserving local systems and economic coherence. Technological disruption and judicial adaptation. The digital age shattered old legal assumptions. Tech advances faster than laws, forcing courts to face data privacy, AI ethics, and cybercrime beyond old frameworks. Merge law offers an edge. Judges can read fast-changing realities while keeping the structure of codes, balancing innovation and control. The personalities who shaped merge law. Colonial administrators as accidental architects. Early architects of merge law weren't theorists but colonial officials in chaotic multicultural zones. Forced to govern where European codes, local customs, and British courts collided, they improvised hybrid systems. Their ad hoc, practical solutions later became the foundations of modern mixed jurisdictions. Reformers of the 20th century. Mid-20th century reformers saw that neither pure common nor pure civil law could guide new states. Thinkers like Van der Sant, Trudeau and McBride pushed hybrid models that joined judicial flexibility with firm codes, turning merge law into a conscious strategy for stable, identity-based governance. Economists and pragmatic visionaries. Economists entered when global investors demanded predictable legal systems. They urged states to use flexible common law ideas for growth while keeping codified rules for stability. Their pragmatic approach turned merge law into a strategic tool, balancing capital attraction with firm regulatory control. Tech jurists of the digital era. In the digital age, a new wave of tech jurists emerged, experts who unite technology and legal thought. They argue no classic system can control AI, data, and cybercrime alone, pushing for adaptive rules that blend strict codes with flexible judgment. Their ideas now drive merge law toward a resilient, dynamic, fast-evolving hybrid future. Basic principles of the merge law device. Dual source of authority. Merge law rests on a paradox. Strict civil law codes meet evolving common law interpretation. Judges can reshape statutes while remaining tied to written rules. This mix creates a system both stable and flexible, strong, adaptive, and sometimes unsettling. Hybrid judicial roles. Merge law turns the judge into both technician and creator. They must balance codes, precedents, and shifting social norms, gaining influence over politics and economics. Yet this power is risky. When interpretation blurs with creation, law can drift toward ideology. Codified control and silent manipulation. Merge law gives lawmakers quiet power. Judges reinterpret norms, but elites can reshape whole legal frameworks through subtle reforms or omissions. The system appears neutral yet allows structural influence, offering democracy while protecting those who rule. Adaptiveness as a legal philosophy. Merge law is built on adaptability, not a single worldview. Judges balance texts, precedents, culture, and global norms. This flexibility lets the system evolve fast, but a model that can become anything risks losing meaning, and unclear limits may weaken public trust. Merge law countries and their specific models. South Africa, between Roman Dutch roots and British influence. South Africa shows how a hybrid system works in practice. Roman Dutch private law blends with British procedure, letting courts rely on both codes and precedent. This mix shapes rulings on rights, justice, and apartheid's legacy, creating a flexible yet highly political system. Quebec, living inside two legal universes. Quebec blends two legal worlds. Civil law rules private life, while common law guides public and federal matters. Citizens and jurists must think in both systems. This coexistence builds a unique hybrid literacy and fuels constant tension between identity and modern governance. Scotland, a logical system shaped by pressure. Scotland's legal tradition blends Roman roots with later English influence, forming a hybrid system where civil law structure meets common law flexibility. Courts use strict reasoning but rely on precedent when needed, creating a model both historic and adaptive. Israel, a rapidly evolving hybrid. Israel's legal system is a fast-evolving hybrid shaped by Ottoman, British, and Israeli norms. It blends codes, constitutional principles, and strong judicial activism. Courts often reinterpret laws, reshaping politics and rights in a system that acts as a living engine of change. Eastern Europe, hybridization after the Soviet collapse. Eastern Europe rebuilt law after the Soviet collapse, merging civil law with select common law ideas. New courts gained wider interpretive powers, commercial rules adopted precedent-like logic, and nations formed hybrid systems shaped by global norms. The battle for priority. Who truly rules in merge law? A dual peak of power, conflict built into the system. In hybrid legal systems, a structural paradox emerges. Lawmakers craft the rules, yet judges determine what those rules truly mean. Codified law demands stability, while precedent insists on flexibility. Between these forces, tension becomes inevitable. Legislators try to assert dominance through reforms and rigid wording, while judges reclaim authority by shaping the real-life meaning of those statutes. Thus begins a silent struggle for the ultimate privilege, the right to have the final say in the state's legal order. Judicial activism as a direct challenge to Parliament. When courts gain wide interpretive freedom, they cease being passive guardians of the law and become political actors with real influence. A single ruling can redirect an entire field of law, forcing Parliament to react rather than lead. Some societies admire this independence. Others accuse judges of overstepping democratic limits. Merge law magnifies this conflict. The more flexible the system, the easier it is for judges to move beyond the original intent of lawmakers and redefine the legal landscape. Parliament's arsenal: amendments, reforms, and redrawing the battlefield. Legislators are far from powerless. They can amend codes, reshape foundational norms, alter procedures, or restrict judicial competencies. On the surface, this looks like healthy democratic governance, but beneath it lies danger. Reforms can be used to weaken judicial oversight or redesign the balance of power. In merge law, Parliament has the ability to rewrite the very rules of engagement, leaving judges without firm ground, or subtly pushing them toward outcomes favorable to the political majority. The breaking point: where the boundary lies and who prevails. In a mixed legal structure, no side is automatically supreme. Judicial power prevails when its interpretations are accepted as binding. Legislative power dominates when its norms remain unquestioned. But true authority reveals itself during crises, when courts resist political pressure, and when lawmakers attempt to curb judicial autonomy. Merge law turns this clash into a continuous duel between two centers of authority, and the victor is determined not by legal doctrine, but by political momentum, historical context, and the public's willingness to defend either judicial independence or parliamentary sovereignty. Shadow arbitrators: society, media, elites, and international courts. Society as the final barrier, when citizens decide the fate of the system. In merge law, citizens are not passive spectators but the last structural safeguard against political overreach. When parliaments attempt to shrink judicial authority, public resistance can halt or even reverse constitutional decline. Yet when society becomes apathetic or divided, the hybrid system loses its counterweight and drifts into a tool of elite convenience. In such moments, the independence of the judiciary survives only if people recognize that their freedom depends on defending it. In merge law, civic engagement is not optional. It's the decisive weapon that shapes the future of the state. Media as a weapon of influence, shaping public perception of courts and law. In mixed systems, courts often become targets of strategic media warfare. A single judicial ruling can be amplified into a national crisis or softened into harmless noise depending on who controls the narrative. Media outlets can elevate judges to the rank of guardians of democracy, or portray them as unelected usurpers undermining the will of the people. Merge law transforms the information arena into a parallel courtroom, where legitimacy is crafted, distorted, or destroyed. And once public opinion shifts, even the strongest judicial institution becomes vulnerable to political pressure. Elites and the art of hidden governance: the battle for control of a hybrid system. Political, financial, and ideological elites view merge law as a field of strategic opportunity. Codified statutes grant them formal tools of influence, while flexible judicial interpretation provides avenues to bypass constraints without openly breaking rules. Through lobbying, narrative shaping, and influence over judicial appointments, elites can tilt the system toward outcomes beneficial to their interests. Thus, a structure originally designed to balance power may silently evolve into a mechanism of indirect control, one where decisions are formed not in parliament or courtroom, but in private rooms shielded from public scrutiny. International courts: external arbitrators reshaping internal balance. International tribunals add an entirely new axis of authority to hybrid systems. Their rulings can override domestic legislation or undermine the decisions of national supreme courts, creating tensions between sovereignty and global legal norms. In some countries, this strengthens human rights protection. In others, it sparks backlash and political resistance. Within merge law, international courts become a third force, a powerful external voice capable of redirecting national legal evolution. Their involvement reveals a deeper truth: no hybrid system exists in isolation. It is woven into the global struggle for justice and power. Conclusion: the hybrid legal model is far more fragile and far more dynamic than its architects imagined. Throughout this exploration, we witnessed how legislatures and courts engage in a constant struggle for priority, how interpretation clashes with norm-making, and how political forces transform law into a contested arena of influence. Yet the system is shaped not only by formal institutions but also by the shadow arbitrators surrounding them. Society can either defend the judiciary or abandon it. Media can legitimize a ruling or destroy its credibility. Elites can bend the system to their interests, and international courts can redirect national legal trajectories. Merge law exposes a deeper truth. The fate of a legal system is determined not only by doctrines and rulings, but also by the forces fighting to control their meaning. A hybrid survives only while balance exists, and collapses the moment that balance is broken.
Hello everyone. I am very excited to share my new YouTube video with you, and I need your support to continue to bring quality and enriching content. If you enjoyed my content, please help me by like the video, it helps me reach more people and spread the message. Subscribe to the channel using the subscribe button below, so you don't miss any new update or video. Press the bell to receive notifications every time I upload new content. And if you would like to support me directly and help me create more content, you are welcome to join me on Patreon. Your support is significant for me and allows me to continue investing in creating quality and enjoyable content for you. Thank you so much for joining and watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. See you in the next video.